Hong Kong prepares to usher in Christmas. Fake $1,000 notes found. And deadly blast rocks Egypt's Nile Delta. Good evening. The Christmas spirit is alive and well. Huge crowds of revellers are out partying in Lung Kwai Fong, Tsim Sha Tsui and other parts of town on this Christmas Eve. Many of the party hotspots are packed tonight. A giant outdoor concert is being held on Canton Road in Tsim Sha Tsui as partygoers prepare to ring in Christmas. Many roads in different areas have been closed as part of crowd control measures. For those of you still thinking about venturing out, most MTR routes will be running all night. Many buses and ferries will also be offering extended services. The Transport Department is advising revellers to try to make use of public transport. 5 fake $1,000 banknotes have been discovered at 2 local banks. As Vicky Kung reports, police think the counterfeit notes are of high quality. Overseas now, at least a dozen people were killed and 100 injured in a powerful car bomb explosion outside a police station in Egypt. No one has claimed responsibility for the bombing that rocked the country's Nile Delta region. Alan Bookney reports. To Thailand, where anti-government protesters have now abandoned efforts to block candidates from registering for a snap election set for February 2nd. But they promised to hound Yingluck Shinawatra and thwart the poll. The caretaker Prime Minister is expected to win. Earlier today, protesters were blocking the entrance to the stadium where a registration centre for election candidates is located. More than 30 parties have now signed up despite the blockade that began yesterday. Yingluck's Poi Thai party is among those that have successfully registered. She called the election to diffuse tension following mass rallies staged by the opposition. The main opposition, the Democrat Party, has already announced it's boycotting the vote. The opposition is demanding Yingluck's resignation and political reform before any election is held. The man who brought the world one of its most deadliest weapons has died. Mikhail Kalashnikov, the designer of the AK-47 assault rifle, was 94. James Aiken has more. More than 100,000 people are still without power in the Canadian city of Toronto after a severe weekend ice storm. About 100,000 did get their power back Monday as utility workers from neighbouring states and provinces assist in the efforts to restore electricity. Tens of thousands of customers in smaller towns and rural areas are still without power. At least 11 people in the US have been killed in the storm. The upper Midwest and northeastern New England states were among the hardest hit. Electricity companies say damage to the power lines in some areas was so severe they won't be up and running again until Friday. Mainland health experts have stepped up their probe into a drug maker to see if the recent deaths of several babies were related to a vaccine they received in a government immunization program. Investigators were sent to the offices of BioKang Thai in Shenzhen. 35 million shots of the hepatitis B vaccine, suspected to have caused those deaths, have been sold across the country. BioKang Thai has denied any wrongdoing. The use of the vaccine has already been suspended. And back locally, organisers of the January 1st pro-democracy rally have failed in their bid to get the police to open up all 6 lanes on Hennessy Road for demonstrators. Officers say the move would put pressure on frontline staff. Organisers of the rally called the restrictions unreasonable. The Civil Human Rights Front says it already received a letter of no objection from the police earlier for the January 1st rally. One of the provisions requested organisers not to ask protesters to join an assembly at the old Lechco building at the end of the march if it gets too crowded. The group's convener Johnson Young said that provision defeats the purpose of the rally. He also called the rally a drill for the proposed Occupy Central movement. It's aimed at educating participants about civil disobedience and non-violence, and that it would make no sense to disperse those taking part after they marched all the way from Victoria Park. Organisers are also unhappy that police have only reserved 3 eastbound lanes on Hennessy Road for the march. They wanted the letter of no objection to state that, if necessary, police would open all 6 lanes to protesters. But police think that such a provision would unnecessarily raise expectations among the protesters and put pressure on frontline officers. This afternoon, the Appeal Board on Public Meetings and Processions heard the organisers' demands. The board dismissed their request to use all 6 lanes on Hennessy Road, which prompted the organisers to issue a warning to the authorities.
We believe that there will be more conflict from the citizens and with the police, between the citizens and the police, if the 6 lanes did not open and causing some conjunctions on the road.
With regards to the provision requiring the dispersal of protesters in Central at the request of frontline police, the board introduced changes to its wording. It now reads that where possible, organisers should cooperate with the authorities. Police are happy with the board's decision. They say it will help them take appropriate and reasonable measures to ensure that the rally would take place in a safe and orderly manner. Christmas Eve is known to some as the fateful eve of Black Christmas, the day Hong Kong fell to invading Japanese forces 72 years ago. A group of elderly survivors of the war who were forced to exchange their money and valuables for Japanese military yen back then are still trying to fight for compensation from Tokyo. Here's Diane To. Sports now. Liverpool tops the English Premiership going into Christmas. This after a showdown between fellow title hopefuls Arsenal and Chelsea failed to live up to its billing. James Aiken reports. A look at the weather before we go. It will be fine and dry. Cold tomorrow morning with a low of 12 degrees in the urban areas and a few degrees lower in the new territories. The top temperature during the day will reach 18 degrees. That's all from the newsroom for now. Thanks for joining us. Merry Christmas.